In today's episode of the Platform Business Podcast, I'm here with Corie, Leigh, and McKendry, and she's hailing over as the lead customer success manager and also looking after product-led growth at Brightidea. And at Brightidea, basically, it's all about, as the name already gives it away, managing bright ideas of your customer, of your client, and particularly your employee base, really, to figure out what, is the next interesting projects to deep dive. And so we want to talk with Corie about growth for the company and how she's been, looking at growth from a customer success angle as well. So welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Very good. So maybe give us a 360 overview. What is Brightidea all about?
Yeah, Brightidea is an innovation and idea management software. And we actually just recently launched Whiteboard that kind of fits right into that. So kind of that pre-idea, pre-innovation portion of it. We really believe that in transforming the way that the world innovates, we believe that the best idea wins. And so we use our platform to give companies a space to collect those ideas from within their organization or from their customer base to really from any group of people that they want to collect ideas from.
Very cool. That makes a lot of sense. And what types of customers would you say you typically work with? Like, what's the sort of, an ideal customer look like? Are they of a certain size? Do they need a certain number of employees to all of this making sense? Are they typically from a certain industry? Maybe share.
Yeah, that's a good question. Really, anybody can benefit from innovation. So traditionally, we have more of an enterprise level, enterprise size customer, but recently with our new product-led growth strategy, we find ourselves also in kind of that SMB and smaller customer space too.
Gotcha. Very cool. Okay, so what would you say, who within those companies is typically the champion? Like, who is stepping up and says, Brightidea is something that we really could need. We need to collect those ideas and bring intelligence into one place. Is that like an HR leader? Is that, where does it come from?
Yeah, so traditionally, again, with Brightidea and our traditional apps, usually there's a team that's focused on innovation, and that's usually where our admins come from. But now with IdeaBox and Whiteboard, we're finding that really anybody can benefit from collecting those ideas. So we're working with HR managers, marketing teams, really anyone who wants to even collect ideas from their team. So that persona that we're typically working with is actually changing now with our IdeaBox product.
Makes sense. And what would you say? How do people, learn about Brightidea? Like, what's the typical journey that they go through? In other words, what is sort of the client acquisition channels that you guys are leveraging?
Yeah, so a big one is word of mouth. Other companies use Brightidea and they love Brightidea as the leader in innovation. So they learn from each other. We also have a new free trial that brings a lot of customers in through our website. And then we do work with a few partners as well.
Okay, very, very good. What would you say in terms of the website? How do you personally, because you're in customer success, right? Obviously, the customer journey is key for you guys. How do you think about the website?
Well, the website is great, especially from a product-led growth perspective. So our customers come in and can trial one of two products, either our Whiteboard product or our IdeaBox. They're a really easy turnkey solution to kind of minimize time to value. And within both of those products, excuse me, we utilize some software that kind of helps our customers walk through and complete certain tasks so that they actually can see value within their 30 days. And then also give them the opportunity to engage with an AE, which I, as customer success, get all of that information from the account executive that they do gather within the process. So a customer can really decide if they want to do everything automated and never talk to a person. And so I learn about a customer a lot through that and what my expectations should be for that group of customers moving forward, because maybe they don't typically want to talk to a person. But if they do, we have a handoff process with the AE where he does give me any information that he's found. Of course, obviously, like our Salesforce notes are up to date. And I think the process is pretty seamless where customers can get in and kind of find some value in that first 30 days.
Very cool. That makes a lot of sense. So how do you personally see the switch from, more enterprise driven to product led? Like what does it change for customer success, and how do you sort of, bring that into a company?
Yeah, so I'd say that's kind of been the meat and potatoes of what I've done in my customer success career for a while I've worked with enterprise customers, even through my I offer some consulting services. Even through that, I really enjoy more of that product-led growth, small SMB, and kind of growing those customers. The big change, one of the big things is realizing that it's not that you can't provide the same level of service and the same level of attention to as you do to enterprise customers. It's that most customers of a smaller size don't want that type of engagement. So when we think of like larger enterprise customers, like you were asking earlier, we think of like an entire department dedicated to innovation. But when we think of smaller customers, it might be, again, like an HR manager that's managing this idea box. So as opposed to Brightidea or innovation being someone's whole job, where they have the time to talk to you all of the time, and they have time to engage with professional services, and they have time to be in the product and the platform all the time. With smaller customers, it might be one of 10 things they're tasked with throughout the week, or even throughout the day. And so while they may want to focus that time and attention on Brightidea, that might look different. So with focusing on those smaller customers, it's providing them the training and the engagement that they need in more bite-sized pieces, so that it's more palatable to them and they actually have the time to engage. Those hour-long meetings or 90-minute QBRs with customers of that size might not always be easy to schedule. Whereas if someone's focusing a lot of time and attention to the platform, they might have more time to do that.
Okay, that makes a whole lot of sense. Very good. What have you learned, and what is your team exploring when switching to product-led growth? Now the website visitors, when they come to the page, right, they can for example, request a demo. What have you learned over your career when it comes to the customer journey? What is there, like, tools, methods, approaches that had helped you guys to bring people from getting to know you guys to actually requesting a demo and getting started?
Yeah, I think that the big one there is providing again concise information, so that customers are learning kind of what they are getting into, and that they understand that this product is turnkey if you want it to be, but if you want to configure and you want to change things, you can. So kind of getting that out in front of the customer. So some things that have kind of helped us in our journey through product-led growth is demo data. Whereas in the past, we didn't really yet, we might have had that in a demo site where we were presenting to customers, but when we first launched our idea box through a free trial, it was a clean slate where you could kind of get in and do whatever you wanted to do, which is great for some people, but for other customers, it's really helpful to kind of see some of that demo data in the product, so that they can maneuver and manipulate things around and understand how that works without having to build their own content. I'd say that was a big takeaway just from even the beginnings of our launch of our free trial and getting people into the website.
Very cool. I would like to switch gears a little bit and learn about your journey in customer success, right? There's so much you could read in order to sort of, improve and bring in new tools, new strategies for customer success. What's the places where you personally like to read? Where do you find, good information for yourself with all the noise out there?
Yeah, I think I follow a lot of customer success leaders on LinkedIn, like Nick Mehta. I joke that he's like the customer success Jesus, but I feel like that's becoming like less of a joke, right? And a few other leaders. I've been in customer success for 7 years, so I have a big network of CSMs that I work with and I talk with regularly. Mm-hmm. There's a few LinkedIn groups that I'm a part of, basically any material that like Churn Zero or Gainsight sends out. I find those things to be really helpful. And any webinars that I can find and log on to and learn from have been, I was recently on one, maybe last week, that I was logging into just for using data kind of in your customer success journey, and when it comes to like churn analysis, which was really helpful.
Very cool. I have some rapid fire questions to wrap it up for today, since we're slowly approaching the end of the interview. Are you ready for those?
Yeah, I think after listening to a couple of podcasts, I'm a little nervous about it, but
I think be good.
Let's go for it.
Maybe tell me, what's the last book you read or the last podcast you listened to? And the Pathfinder one doesn't count.
Okay, so Right now, I'm currently reading In My Words by RBG, and the podcast probably wouldn't be really applicable to anyone listening because I'm obsessed with true crime. So there are lots of true crime podcasts.
It's actually been a couple of marketers have been saying that recently. There must be a little trend between marketers and true crime.
Yeah, it's interesting and it's good. But as far as reading, I'm currently reading In My Words by RBG.
Very good. What's the one thing that your company is focused on the most at the moment?
Product-led growth. That's a big, I mean, our continued focus, we're all rowing in the same direction when it comes to really transforming how the world innovates, but we have a really big focus right now too on our new whiteboard, idea box, and product-led growth.
If you could have no boundaries in technology, right? So you have a magic wand. What's the one thing you would fix for your role today?
Cross-entity reporting. And so pulling in data from different sources, putting it in different places, and being able to report on whatever I want to, whenever I want to.
If I would ask you, what's the last thing that kept you awake at night about the company? What would you say?
I would say for me, it's figuring out when to automate and when to provide a personal approach for these smaller customers.
Interesting, actually. And for the last question, I would like to sort of go back to your first role that you ever took in customer success, right? So you into your first role a couple of years back. What's the one advice you would give yourself for your journey in customer success?
Oh, that is a hard one. I started in customer success with a really great leader, and she was super helpful, and as well as a mentor that provided a lot of advice. But for myself, I would say eat the elephant one bite at a time. So I'm big at wanting to accomplish everything all at once and do everything, but then you kind of find yourself chasing a rabbit down a lot of holes. And if you really want to get something done and accomplish something, you really have to focus. While you can have a broader goal and look at the bigger picture, really focusing on kind of one task at a time to completion is really helpful.
Very, very good. Appreciate you took the time with us today to be a guest on Pathway Presents. I want to give you the very last word. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about Brightidea, what's the one thing they should remember?
Innovation is important and it can come from anywhere. And our platform really helps dig out those ideas from really anyone who has them. And you can really find out some great things from your employees or your customer base. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Pathway Presents.
Yeah, of course.